Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland, I'm Trev Downey, and this is episode 352 of the Anfield Index Podcast. That number just keeps getting bigger, but I suppose that's what happens. And at some of these stages, we might get some of the old guys back to celebrate with us. We could talk about 400 perhaps, as that might be enough notice for young Hendrik, and probably not enough for Gags. Gags probably could do it about 2 years notice, but we can only try. I'm putting it out there in the ether that maybe for 400 we'll get them all along. But of course, I am joined by two of my regular colleagues this evening, Lisa Marie Hanahan and Cam Brainch, to talk to you about what's going on at the moment in general. Now, can we just say immediately from the top, the online fandom area is quite the cesspool at the moment. So if you are listening, like hate listening, or listening with an agenda, or listening hoping to get wound up, or looking for something to get wound up about, then you probably have the wrong show. We can occasionally get a little bit critical in this show, but we're not the deep analysis of the match podcast. We have ones for that on the channel. We're not looking at the deep statistical underlying issues. There are podcasts for that on the show. We're not looking at the opposition in detail. There are podcasts for that on the show. There's even a transfer podcast hosted by some Irish lad with Dave Davids, an Irish hypocrite. And you know, so all of these things can be covered. We will talk about stuff in a general way, as we always do on the show, and just our experience of being fans of the Reds and looking at some of the bigger overarching issues. God knows there are a lot of them at the moment. So let me just say hello to my two colleagues. Start with Lisa Marie Hanahan. How are you doing? What's the week been like for you, Lisa Marie?
Well, it's the week where, you come off the holidays and it's like everything has to start getting back to a more regular schedule. And so that's what this week has been. The kids have gone back to school. I've, been back at work. I didn't take a lot of time off during the holidays, but I was at least off Monday of this week. So it feels like we're kind of working our way back into some sort of a groove. And, Trev, those people online that come at us with, not nice comments, they just can't help themselves. They just weren't raised right. It's not their fault.
I love that. That's a good take. Yeah, that's a good take. And honestly, I would be lying if I said that I find it upsetting. I don't. Sometimes I allow myself to respond in kind. Sometimes I just ignore. But I do find it very strange how tribal people are getting about all their little petty issues. But before we go down that blind alley, it's an interesting, you're right, this time of the year is quite interesting. I'm the type of person who on New Year's Day takes down all the Christmas decorations, packs it up and cleans the house and has it looking spick and span, because I want to start the new year afresh. Just to check in with me and where I'm going. I've been keeping you guys up to date. I'm now into, it must be like 16, 17 weeks of my training. I think I've missed about 3 of them with injury in total. Overall, without in that run.
You're doing better than some other people we know.
Yeah, right. So I mean, it's I have to say it's easily the best thing I've done. If the reason I bring it up is if you're out there at this time of the year, as a lot of people are, thinking about, should I commit to doing a thing, and you're quibbling about the money, and we've a lot going on at the moment, so it is an issue. And yet it's also an expense that is inherently justifiable to me because I've never felt better, and it's getting me back on track, giving me a new interest. I recommend it, just whatever your chosen thing is. I'm not saying you have to go trainers or whatever, but if you're thinking at this time of the year, should I commit? Should I get that gym membership? Absolutely. Just do it, because the upside is fantastic. And I've had a rough time with stuff going on that is out of my control around various areas of my life. And if it hadn't been for that, I think I'd have really struggled. As it is, I've managed to come onto these shows and be a smiley, happy chap, and go into my students on a daily basis and be a smiley, happy chap mostly. And this, I think, is the little message I wanted to put out there. So if you're thinking about doing a thing, going for a walk every day, or committing to a gym, or maybe taking that step and getting yourself a trainer, whatever it is, invest in yourself. It's a good thing to do, because I found that the few weeks when I was off, or the couple of nearly 2 years beforehand when I fell off the wagon of fitness, the amount of money I was spending every week on bullshit that was actually doing me no good was far more. So that's my little upbeat start of the year message to encourage people to go and, commit, do that thing you've been thinking about, because it will make you feel better. Cam Brainch, I know you're a man who likes commitment. How's your week been? I know, you've told us, it's a bit ho-hum, the whole day-to-day for you at the moment, but how are you managing? Were you busy over Christmas? Did you get much time off?
Yeah, I did. I had a nice. Hello, Trev. Hello, Lisa Murray. Yeah, I had a sort of couple of weeks off. The rotten scoundrels at work deliberately changed my rota, so the days I had booked off, they had me down as having the day off as well as a holiday on the same day. So I then had to go in on days when I would have normally been off, assuming, so. For example, I have Monday and Friday off. So what did the rotten scoundrels do? They gave me Monday and Wednesday off, and I'd booked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off. So I had to go in on Friday. That's what they're like at my place. So, and it's been ironic because I've gone back to work sort of properly this week, and they've had a cyber attack, and they shut the whole system down. So I've been on a nice go slow in protest this week. So I've done nothing for a whole week. So,
it's hard to fight that impulse, isn't it, when you feel like you've been done down?
Yeah. And then one of the managers goes to me, well, Cam, what's the matter with you? You don't seem with it. And I'm like, I didn't really want to say, well, you sort of fucked me over Christmas. So yeah. Because then it just makes me out to be a bit of a dick, doesn't it? So but then I am a bit of a dick anyway, so hey-ho, it's all good. It's all good.
We won't hear tell of it, despite the fact you've already maligned me once in my intro. I refuse to allow you to run yourself down, because I'm a better person than you. So
I was right then.
I've openly admitted to the hypocrisy of me getting involved in transfers. Everybody knows.
I was listening to your show the other day, funny enough, and it's like you actually mentioned about me running you down about it, and then you said, but I've done full circle on or 180 on this, and I'm so into it. I love it all now. I'm like, you A1 effing git. Yeah. What have you become? You've sold your soul to the devil.
Yeah, Cam, I am all in, brother, all in. And it's, of course, the one time that I commit, pretty much the wheels. Okay, we got Gakpo as a nice surprise, and it seems churlish to not. I don't know. Should we just always be grateful and doffing our caps and going, "Oh, thank you, sir"? I'm Oliver Twist here. I've got my bowl. I've gone to the top of the hall, and I want some more. And and that's where I am. But yeah, man, I'm all in. And actually, Lisa Marie, where do you stand on this? Because myself and Cam were famously, and actually Carl, I think as well, was one of the few things the three of us always agreed on was transfer season, I can't be arsed. When they sign, I'll celebrate it. That was our standard take. And then, like I say, I've found myself just immersed in it now, and kind of, because it's a novelty for me, I'm enjoying it. Are you all in? Are you on the bus completely, or do you take that detached view as well?
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
I have found myself, like over the summer, I got very all in and found myself getting extremely pulled into it, probably a little bit too much. As we came into January, I mean, I remember in December, like, you know, as the World Cup was kind of finishing up and you know, the season, you know, the league was getting ready to start back up and people are already, and I'm like, good God, it's December and we're already constantly talking about transfers. Could we at least get to, you know, December 29th or 30th before it starts becoming so all encompassing? So that sort of annoyed me a little bit at first, but then I have found myself, you know, sort of slowly sliding back into probably not the best pattern. But I maintain the same, and this is probably just going to be a theme every January moving forward, that, you know, I would like a couple of new players as a birthday gift because I have, you know, birthday at the end of the month. And so, yeah, you know, Gakpo is a nice early present, but I'll take 2 or 3 more, please. I'm greedy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It never occurred to me. You've probably said it, but just a little tangent here. Was your birthday the thing that kind of triggered the idea of let's go away and you're coming over to my
Yes.
green and rainy land? Yes, that was
it is because back in the fall. Okay, it's kind of a big one this year. I mean, you know. Anyway, it's one of those decade birthdays.
Oh, you and me both.
I know. I'm getting there first. So back in the fall, my husband said, he goes, so what do you want to do for your birthday? Where do you want to spend your birthday? And I'm like, Ireland. And he just was like, oh, okay. But then he looked at flights and they were kind of reasonable because, you know, who wants to go to Ireland the end of January, beginning of February? So, yeah. So we're taking advantage of the, you know, off-season pricing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of it. And then, I mean, we're already, our next trip will be, you know, and we're planning to do it at a nicer time of year. But yeah, probably we'll be back in 2024. Because it's kind of a big anniversary year for us that year. So we're already plotting. We haven't even gone on this trip and we're already plotting the next one. So
this reminds me, we must have a chat, you and I, about your itinerary quite soon. We might actually have a little chat towards the end of the show about a couple of suggestions I have for you, depending on whereabouts you're going to be at what times. Listen,
you know, you have some lessons that you've promised me as well.
Yes, I did say I'd teach you a little bit of the old Irish. Yes. But we should do that. We'll try and get at least one decent phrase for you and all the listeners by the end of the show today. One of my personal dreams is to hear Cam Brainch speaking Irish. I have to say that would be a tremendous thing.
I can't speak English, and you want me to try Irish?
Yeah, I've tried my hand at Punjabi, so I think it's time
it's
you.
Better than mine.
We shall circle back to the whole idea of holidays and breaks and trips and languages and all that type of thing at the end, because we'll probably need I wanted this as a palate cleanser at the start, and we're probably going to need I remember when myself and my brother were young and we used to watch a movie that might be little bit scary or whatever. You'd like try to find a bit of football somewhere to watch for 20 minutes before you went to bed. So that's the equivalent. We'll need to find, ironically, non-football at the end of this particular chat, I'd imagine, because there's not a lot going right at the moment, if we're being perfectly honest. And the little allusion I was making earlier on is to the wild schisms that appear to be opening between all the various factions. I don't think I've ever seen society in general globally more split into factions. It doesn't matter even if you're on a specific team. Within that team, you're going to have several different factions hacking the back off each other. And I can't relate to it on any level. It's the type of thing, I've said it before, with regard to certain podcasts and certain other media outlets that I've found, they seem to be the type of people who define themselves by what they hate as opposed to what they love. And I think that's inherently wildly unhealthy. And it leads to the creation of some pretty nasty individuals who you'd be as well to avoid. But it doesn't seem to be just that, the extremes only. It seems everyone's been a little bit infected by the darkness of late. I'll include myself in that. You wake up today and you hear stories about Virgil's injury. You read Kloppo saying, well, it's not a midfield problem. It's bigger than that. And it's hard not to wince. I think it's hard not to wince. I think it's hard for any sort of right-thinking, non-extremist person to not just wince a bit and say, can we have a break here, and can we really get on with addressing the specifics of why it is that we're not doing well? Cam, you didn't see any stories during the week. You famously don't do the social media much at all, if at all, these days. And I'm not even sure if you read any blogs or articles or listen to any football pods during the week. So I just want to fill you in on something and get your reaction to it. Okay. There was a story that broke, and Lisa Marie will be familiar with this, that broke during the week, where there was a journalist who now again, none of this is confirmed, who claimed to have spoken to a member of a rival Premier League team, a backroom staff member. And the gist of the chat was, well, we know how to get at Liverpool now. They're easily attacked in transition. They don't like physicality. Mm-hmm. You can bully them, basically. Yep. There was a third thing, Lisa Marie. Do you remember what it was? There was three separate things that this guy identified. It was basically you can bully us. We don't like physicality. And
was it something to do with not being able to run as much, or?
I think it might have been just that, because obviously we can all see that objectively with the eye test, and then the stats will tell you that our all our running stats and pressing stats have fallen off a cliff. So it's probably just, it's probably that. But the point is, anyway, I guess, Cam, nobody could argue at all. No one could, even the most top positivity boy could not argue against those points, because they are clear. You need to be in denial to argue with those things. It doesn't mean Klopp out, FSG out, burn it all down, Pep Linders is Satan. It just means that they are actually fair points to make. And if some journalist is writing a story about some backroom boy from another team and how they've worked us out, well, that means pretty much everybody's worked us out. And again, Cam, we can see the evidence on that on the pitch pretty much every week. We're get-atable. We're a little bit of a chaos show at the back, and our physicality and energy levels are not what they were. That's all fair enough, isn't it? And that's a worry that we are objectively, I think this is another quote, the team that everybody fancies their chances against. You know, of the big teams, we're the one that people fancy their chances against. And we had just gotten it to the stage where we were the kind of team that some people were beaten in the tunnel. It's a shit situation to have allowed to develop, isn't it?
What you just said right at the end there is what it's all about. Allowed to develop. It's totally on the club, as in whoever you want to point. It doesn't matter who you point fingers at, actually, because it's down to something we've been banging on every summer when it comes to transfers. I certainly have. I know you are sort of more inclined always to want to go for forwards. Carl has always said midfielders. I've always said midfielders. Lisa Marie's predominantly said midfield. Obviously, you have always said, yes, we need midfielders as well. And it for me, that is the underlying issue. It's always going to be about the midfield. We've strengthened the defence. We've strengthened the attack. We've gone full circle from not gone full circle. If you look at it, originally it was the Fab Four that only played about 5 games, and then one of them left, and we got Virgil and Allison in apparently off the back of that. Whichever way you want to spin those figures, that's fine. And then so we only ever had really 3 attackers, with Divock coming off the bench and doing his legendary stuff, deserving a statue. I think at the Anfield Road end would be nice for him. And then obviously we've revitalised the defence from, the horror show that was Skirton and Lovell in the middle, and whatever fullbacks that were playing in those days, to what we have now with Valley in goal. That's all been transformed, and to an extent even the midfield was, but then what they've done in midfield has been negligence of the highest order. We've extended contracts that we shouldn't have extended. We've kept players on that we should not have kept. We should have been trying to move injury-prone players out. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to point fingers at individual players. It's pointless in that respect. We all know, we've all got our views on certain players and this, that, and the other. But since I'm going to name a player now. Sorry. Since Naby Keita's been signed 4.5 seasons ago, like Jamie Carragher said the other day, I did catch that quote. And then we've only signed Thiago, and we let Ginny go. We've done nothing to address the midfield. And the quote that, the story that you're saying about all those things are because of the midfield. The physicality was our midfield. It was the powerhouse. We dominated teams. Teams now completely dominate us in the middle of the park. Completely dominate us. We don't have that control that we used to have. In transition, the way they're slicing through us, but not even in transition. If you look at the Leicester goal, that came from the goalkeeper. That wasn't transition. That was just piss poor from everybody involved in that goal. Yes, Klopp can say it was the whole team, but ultimately, a lot of it was down to just running through midfield. Who scored? A midfielder. Why wasn't nobody tracking him? So you can't just say it's just transition. It's teams that know they can just run through us because we don't have anything there.
But there you go. That in and of itself, I think what an awful lot of people understand as transition. In other words, the work that Ginny Wijnaldum used to do, which is mopping up and stepping into gaps, cutting off passing lanes, all that type of thing, to make us difficult to play through. Yeah. We now don't have that because we don't have, with the exception of Fab, a kind of player who can do that. Thiago can do it, but he's not his natural game, and you want him concentrating on being a number 8 and creative. Exactly. And poor Harvey is not a midfielder, and he certainly can't do that job anyway. Whatever about being quite adept at the attacking part of it, that is not a thing that a kid should be expected to do. Who's
Can I just make a point on Harvey?
Yeah.
If folks are slagging off Harvey, are they stupid? The lad's 19 years old. Where was Kevin De Bruyne as a 19-year-old? Now, I'm not making any comparisons here. Can anybody tell me where Kevin De Bruyne was as a 19-year-old?
Yeah, well, that's it. He was a comparatively late developer, wasn't he? So I mean,
yeah, he was at Genk, but just still on Harvey. Last season, before his injury, he was playing midfield with Trent and Mo in front of him, and before his injury, he was phenomenal. He was a breath of fresh air in that midfield. It was like, wow. Yeah. Nobody was criticising him then, were they?
No, but most of the other areas of the team, including his two pals in midfield, tended to be doing better than what they are doing now.
And so he's being exposed now because of that.
Yeah.
Again, goes back to the issue, we haven't addressed the midfield.
Well, when Kloppo was asked about that today, just to throw this one at you live, he says, what about the midfield issues? It was the question. He said, only midfield? He says it's a general problem, not a midfield problem. Defending, he says, starts up front. If you don't defend from there, then the midfield have no chance. Balance might be a problem now. He said Brentford's goals didn't come from a ball through the midfield, which is kind of touching on what you were saying. And yet,
the third goal did.
So yes, but also sort of ignoring the elephant in the room, which is that we are get-atable and that we are not good in transition. It's just objectively true.
Yeah, the opportunities opposition teams are getting this season is a phenomenal number. Yeah. I mean, the last 3 games, we should have lost all 3. You can't say because of the opportunities we're conceding.
Yeah,
Ali has been our best player this season. Our goalkeeper should not be our best player.
Yeah, and he has been. Lisa Marie, let me bring you in on this because there's another little crinkle in this this week's ongoing debates. And of course, it's the controversy around the apparent or perceived influence of Pep Lijnders. And of course, neither you nor I nor Cam is in a position to say anything definitive here. But the narrative, again, like it does with everything in the world, gets so simplistic, so binary, that it's kind of an insult to most people's intelligence. But it hasn't stopped people mouthing off as if they just decide, well, I got to pick a team here. So you have accounts now, I can see them like popping up. Lijnders out and FSG and Lijnders out and this type of thing, and they're getting retweeted onto my timeline, and just wince when I see it. So here's my take on this. Jamie Carragher, in a way that was either witless or incredibly cynical, because it just happened to be the subject of his column. His new column a day later, mentioned live on Sky after the Liverpool game that he thought, maybe he dropped in the influence of Pep Lijnders as part of a potential problem or issue that's happening at the moment around about the whole idea of recruitment, training, all those kind of things. We ignore for a second the fact that there are other people who are supposed to be the ones who do the recruitment that nobody knows. Nobody has any definitive information about whether Pep Lijnders is the one who has suddenly Lady Macbeth-like gotten into Kloppo's ear and started turning his head. It's a remarkably simplistic little narrative that's being spun. There could be some truth to it. And that could theoretically be a cause for concern if it's not the right advice or if we're going a different direction because of an increased influence. But nobody really knows this. And it also presupposes, Lisa Marie, that Jurgen Klopp is some sort of yes man sap who doesn't know his own mind. What have you made of all of this Lijnders debate?
Honestly, I've ignored a good bit of it for many of the reasons that you just stated. I mean, I'm not saying that Pep Lijnders doesn't have increased influence, but he's only as influential as Klopp and whoever else allows him to be. I mean, I don't think he's sitting at home at night plotting how to stage a coup of Liverpool Football Club. So, he has as much influence and power, if you will, as he's allowed to have. And if Klopp or whoever is not going, is maybe going to listen to it, but just, I'll take this under advisement. Yeah, I mean, it's just, he's not, I think he's just the latest scapegoat. It's obvious. He's who everyone is focused between the book, titled, unfortunately, Intensity, and now we no longer have it. And again, I mean, we talked about this a few months ago. He didn't just decide to write that book and publish it without the clearance and the go ahead or whatever, the blessing from the club. That had to be done with a certain amount of oversight. So, again, he didn't just wander off the reservation and decide to publish this book. So, I mean, he may have had the idea for it initially, but they had to okay it. They had to give him the go ahead to move forward with it. So I think it's just kind of a series of unfortunate events that, it's everyone's frustration and, angst and upset is focused on him. Although, you are starting to see it more focused on Klopp as well. I mean, it's not lenders alone, but I mean, Jesus, take the wheel, people. Get a hold of yourselves and just take a step back. I'm especially Southern today. I don't know what's going on. But anyway.
Wow. I'm half expecting you to serve us up some grits before the end of the.
You know what? I hate grits. Well, no, I take that back. Shrimp and grits is a good dish, but grits on their own, no, they look like wallpaper paste. But that's a whole other topic. So, yeah, but no, I mean, I do. I think he is, in the way as certain players tend to get hyper-focused on when things aren't going right. Well, that's going on too, of course. But I think, Lenders has he's put himself out there, just with the book and the other things. And so that has, made that target that much larger for all of these people, for people to just aim at. But I think you're right. It's not like this is Macbeth. He's not whispering in Klopp's ear trying to, stage, take over the kingdom. He and Klopp have worked together for a long time now. And obviously Klopp values his opinion, good, bad, right or wrong. Whatever. But I don't think he's a villain.
Yeah, like exactly. Worst case scenario, if all of the wild theories have any basis to them at all, worst case scenario, what you're looking at here is a situation where a guy who really wants the best for the club, who wants to succeed, who is ambitious, has made some wrong calls, and those calls have been agreed with by the manager. That's literally the worst case scenario here. So the idea of him as a villain is just on its face daft. The idea of him as a potentially, therefore, malign influence is on its face daft. The potential for him being an influence which may have derailed some of the things which we had in situ before, I mean, there's an argument to be made, and I'm willing to listen to a reasonable person make a reasonable argument there. If they can show me what it is around training, if they can prove to me objectively that they know for a fact that there was a lot of whispering about this guy and that guy. And I mean, you're hearing these stupid stories about, we could have had Nkunku, but Pep didn't want him, so Klopp said no. And these are the type of things that, Cam, let me come around full circle on this and bring you back in here. I know you've steered clear of this story. You probably wouldn't have picked up on this, but
no.
You also are very, very vocal there and clear in your idea. You've used the word I've used before in the summer when we didn't get defenders, and people don't like to hear it, but negligence is negligence. And it's one of the things that, whether you want, I don't care how high you are on FSG. If you can't accept criticism, then, there's something inherently wrong with you and your value system and your belief system and your worldview. If you can't have a little bit of humility enough to say, well, okay, that's fair enough. We probably are a little bit penny pinching and probably could have strengthened when from a position of, reinforced from a position of strength, which is what great teams have always done.
Yeah,
but we haven't. That stark characteristic, which the aforementioned Carragher mentioned, one midfield recruit, albeit a class act, in 4.5 years, that's just not good enough. And the reason why it didn't happen, Cam, is because an awful lot of faith was being placed in lads who are made of Pringles and sticky tape. And that's just the truth of it. These lads are not available for us. Naby has not been available enough. Jordan's increasingly unavailable, and his form has been patchy, shall we say. Even if you're the biggest Henderson fan in the world, you'd have to say that he's not the guy he was. Fabinho, form fell off a cliff. He's looked a ghost of himself. Thiago,
although he's been a bit better since the World Cup break.
He has. You're right. No. That's since the restart. He has looked a bit.
Sleep deprivation from the new baby might kick in here in the next month too.
I love the way that you're assuming that Fabinho doesn't have about 17 nannies. I'm sure even his missus.
Other people have talked in the past about how players have kind of had a stutter step after becoming parents. So I'm just saying.
Hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin DeVries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, of course, it is very possible. But again, I would say
I doubt he's getting up and doing the 3 a.m. feedings. But
yes, and the drop off in his form goes back way before that, unfortunately.
Exactly. I'm just saying, I hope it continues on the upward trend and fatherhood doesn't, take a step back.
Yeah. But you see where I'm going with this, Cam. The group of players that trust was placed in. If a dope sitting in a field here in Ireland can see that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense and that we really objectively need to strengthen and, as you say, move on a couple of lads, and the sentimentality issue comes in here. There's And look, I want to see all of the lads being paid. I understand that there's a sort of contradiction here. It's not naivety. I understand about money, but I also don't give a shit about money, because it's not mine, and I just want to see our owners invest in us. Yeah. So what do you think is the solution here? Because there's an awful lot of, like I say, wildly whirling around negativity, around recruitment, around the influence of lenders, around lack of the allowance of the playing staff to stagnate, like wildly negative stuff. People are DMing me who are good lads, and they're like, "What's going on, Trev? Like, what do you think? This is really bad." And I'm like, "I know, man, and I'm trying to lay out some regular stuff, but I have this feeling, man, that if we don't get a solid first team ready recruit in here into the midfield with this current squad, the way that they are currently performing, with Virgil van Dijk now on the injury list as well, I think top 4 is a pipe dream." That's my honest opinion. What do you think?
Firstly, on Linders, Buvac left in 2018, and then Linders became first team coach around that time, I believe. So, World Club Championship, Champions League, League title, FA Cup, League Cup. That's with Linders as first team coach. We've now having the unfortunate case of him writing a book with the clubs. Okay, he couldn't have done that off his own back. He couldn't have published it off his own back without the club being in the know. People have to be, they're not surely stupid enough to think he's just gone and done it on the sly. I mean, honestly, people are not that stupid, honestly. All right, maybe they are. So that's really unfortunate, that the title of the book, because the title of the book was actually correct if you think about it, especially the way we were playing up until this season. It was about intensity, wasn't it? That's what we were all about. You know, you can go back to the Barcelona semi-final and you've got Jordi, was it Jordi Alba? Yeah, it was Jordi Alba, wasn't it? Just with his head in his hands, and he goes, what do we do? They're just too strong for us. They're everywhere. We can't move. I can't breathe, sort of thing, because they're too intense. So to now make him the scapegoat it's just stupidity of the highest order. Is he part of the problem right now, along with Klopp, FSG, and the rest of the coaching staff? Yeah, of course he is. Is he part of the solution, though? Yes, 100% he is. Because there was a point, just like before Klopp was signing his new contract, people were saying he should be the next person to take over at the club. You know? But then some stupid people said they want Steven Gerrard to take over as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's really, really strange. It's really baffling. You can't just pin it on Linda's, everything that's going wrong. Going back to what you were saying, we need to get a body in. Trev, we need to get a body out first. That's the issue.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem because of squad numbers and contracts.
Is that the problem with the current setup in terms of ownership, Cam? Is that the problem? Because really, when you think about the ambitions that we have and where we've managed to, where Jurgen Klopp has managed to build us up to, and now the old thing that used to afflict managers at Liverpool happened to Rafa. We're hamstrung by frickin' money, you know?
I genuinely don't think it is actually the money.
You don't?
No, because the club has got money. They're not skint. Yeah, you don't pay it. For example, if it was Moses Caicedo, I'm not sure how to pronounce his surname correctly, but if Moises, sorry, Caicedo, I can't even say his first name properly. I told you I can't speak English. If they will say, looking at him, he's somebody we're being heavily linked with, and I know Chelsea are being heavily linked with him as well. So if he was the player that they're looking at right now, if it was let's say it's £70 million, they're not paying 70 million up front in one hit, are they? They're going to pay probably 25-30 million up front, and then the rest of it is going to be spread over 3 or 4 years determined by the length of the contract they offer him. So if they haven't got 35 million, then there's something seriously wrong, isn't there? Does that make sense in that respect? Because that's what
it does, but
then along with the signing on fees and everything, and I get it, but that's why I say they've got to get somebody out as well because of squad numbers. You can't just suddenly they're not going to turn around and say, right, to James Milner or Ox or Naby, right, we're just going to not you're out the first team squad for the rest of the season. The logical thing, the best thing to do would be to try and shift one of those players on, and then you've got a space availability for somebody to come into, then a squad number as such, because obviously you've got to register a certain number with the FA and the Premier League and Champions League and all that palaver, haven't you, of who's going to be in your squad. You can only have a 25-man squad. I don't know how many players we got registered. It may be that we've only got 24 players registered, so there is a spot available.
But do you not find yourself wincing? And again, Lisa Marie, you can chime in here as well after Cam if you want. Do you not find yourself wincing at the established pattern of now you see the journals looks like they're briefed to say Liverpool are pretty much done unless the perfect deal manifests. Now you're seeing ones today talking about Chris Bascom, I think, was talking about, there's a 200 to 250 million war chest for the summer. It's fucking boring, Cam. It's just so boring. It's the same shit every time. Like, I mean, I think fans are within their rights to say, well, okay, we can just let the whole house of cards collapse and just give up on the season And crazy people can say it's fine, we'll get Bellingham in the summer because he'll definitely come to a club who's in Europa Conference fucking shit show, right? And they can go on living their daft dreams, and that's fine. But the reality is we will have a very limited pool of people that we can recruit then. And maybe we do need to go back and start from scratch with maybe about 3 to 4 new people in that first team. I know Dave Hendrick's going around saying we need about 3 midfielders. I agree. I absolutely agree too.
I agree.
I think we need an entirely new starting midfield in the same way that Real Madrid did it. They got they had those wonderful servants that won like 11 European Cups for them, and they just replaced them with 3 young world beaters, 4 actually. Yeah. And I know that's Real, but if we don't have those ambitions and the ability to do that, like what are we playing at, you know? And there's fans of ours who seem to take a certain sort of pride in the fact that, you know, well, you know, we done it on the cheap, or we done it, you know, that type of thing, or we don't need the big money. And I love that. I would love if that is the case, but that can only bring you so far. And it feels like we're keeping on looking for Jurgen to work miracles.
Yeah.
He's now got his back against the wall. And that's why I think, just to bring you in this, Lisa Marie, I think that's why he finds himself in a press conference today coming out with stuff that's kind of objectively a bit daft sounding. Look, there's an argument to be made for, and managers should never tell the full truth in press conferences anyway, and blah blah blah.
100%.
And like all of us, the 3 of us, like the admiration levels we have for Jurgen Klopp are just like through the roof. But it just feels like he's being cornered into this situation because of the lack of action. I mean, there are theories out there, Lisa Marie, that Klopp didn't want him, he is as culpable as blah blah blah. And who knows if there's some truth in that or not, but nobody can objectively tell me any proof around that. So when you're not fully in the know, you have to talk about things the way we're talking about them now, which is, well, there's this side and that seems reasonable and that seems crazy, and then there's this side and that seems reasonable and that seems crazy, and try to balance it out. I mean, that's where I find myself landing here. But I do feel a lot of sympathy for a man who has grown the club back to the very highest level. And now he finds himself, I think he's in a situation where he seems to be a bit hamstrung. And even if he has a degree of loyalty, Lisa Marie, to certain lads who maybe aren't capable of doing it anymore, like, I guarantee you he's not saying no to more good players to work with those guys, and then all of a sudden, you know, they find themselves in the team because they're just better. I just don't see a situation where it's Jurgen who's going, no, I don't want to strengthen. I mean, do you believe that for a second?
No, I don't. And, you know, and again, as you said, we don't know what's going on. And I've said this in the past. I only half believe anything that is said in a Jurgen Klopp press, for the most part, when it comes to questions like this. I mean, obviously, you know, yes, Virgil van Dijk has a hamstring injury, you know, that I believe. But when it comes to who they're looking at and why they're looking at them and how many they think we're going to get in, he's going to be vague, you know, for a number of reasons. You know, he's going to be vague because if, you know, it gets out, you know, I mean, it's, you know, a negotiating tactic. You don't want to show your hand, so to speak, you know, as much as you can. So that's obviously one reason. Another reason is so that if it comes out, you know, I mean, he's going to be, oh, absolutely, Jude Bellingham is going to be here. You're going to see him, you know, at the AXA Training Center on June the 2nd or whatever the date would be. Yeah. You know, and then something happens, you know, like, as you said, we don't make champions, you know, we don't make top 4 and whatever. And, you know, Jude's like, well, you know, I really would have loved to have come play for y'all, but if you're not going to be in the Champions League, maybe not. So, you know, I get the need and the strategy for being very vague in the answers to some of these questions. You know, I don't fault him for that. And, you know, when he's in the proper frame of mind, it kind of makes me laugh the way he answers some of these questions. But you can almost feel, and I haven't watched today's press conference. As I said, I started listening to Dave Davis's, you know, podcast on it, but I haven't finished listening to it. But from what he and Gags were saying, yeah, you can tell that this is a man who's under a lot of pressure. I mean, which he's going to be, obviously, he manages a major football team, but more so. And I mean, it's the injuries, it's it's everything, I'm sure. And, anybody who is backed into a corner, there are very few people in the world who are not going to get, their back up, their, shoulders and neck kind of, clenched up when they're answering questions like that. I mean, there's very few people who aren't going to react that way. And I don't fault him for that. I mean, I don't blame him at all. So it's just, it goes back to what I was saying, these people, everyone just needs to calm down. Again, look, I am worried about where this club is headed as much as the next person, but me losing sleep over it and slagging people off on Twitter is not going to change the trajectory of Liverpool Football Club. So calm down.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mag boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, like you said, you get
for your own mental well-being, calm down.
It sometimes it's easier said, but you can attest to the fact that it does leave you. I mean, Jesus, you're like pretty zen these days, coming on the show, because you're completely immune to the swirling bullshit on a daily basis that infects all the rest of us. So there is a lot to be said for not engaging. And if you find it intensely annoying, like I said to one particular genius today, you don't have to listen to the podcasts or read the tweets. Feel free to not do that and kindly just go away. That's always an
Trevor, I told you that after the Brentford game. I said, I'm giving myself a 24-hour ban from Twitter because I don't want to be in that cesspool.
You did, yeah. And it keeps luring you back in because we're all addicted to information. That's just the truth of the way things are at the moment. But if you can stay away, it's a wise thing to do. Cam, I'm going to finish on a comparatively upbeat note because we do have an FA Cup game. Well, it depends where you take it, actually. We have an FA Cup game tomorrow. We're recording this on Friday evening. The game is Saturday evening. I think it's an 8 o'clock kickoff.
You go down just before you go there, Trev. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just quickly, because obviously it's all about transfers ultimately. Yeah, and about getting players in. And the club are always going to plead poverty, because they don't want to bump up prices. Yeah, and that's just negotiating. That's just trying to be savvy. If they're not going to sign anyone, they're not going to sign anyone. That's just the way it is. But it's January the 6th. Nobody else has signed anybody yet, any other club. Nobody's done any business. Chelsea did like £1 billion of transfers in the summer, and they're below us in the league. And we're playing horrendously, yet we still got a shout. We're within touching distance of top four. If we get the midfield right by some miracle, we will finish top four. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. Because if there's any team in the in the Premier League that knows how to chase down points and be in with a shout, it's our team. It's our group of players. It's our management team. They know how to do that. So as much as there is doom and gloom and it's a shit show and we're all fucking fed up, I still believe that we've got as good a chance of anybody of still getting that top four, because we're only about, 5-6 points off top four? And for us, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. Because if
Look
we
where
get
we
on
were
a
this
roll,
time last year.
Yeah. We're 14 points behind.
Exactly.
And we ended up being, all right, we lost it by a point again, yeah? Fuck's sake. Always a point, isn't it?
The point is the number of too many more times I can use the word point in a sentence. How many points we made up in that time period?
That's the point. Oh, God.
Oh my God.
We have that ability. Once we get on a roll, once we start getting those results, and once we start playing better, other teams start worrying. Well, they know they can't touch us, and that's all it's about. So, yeah, if there's anybody you're going to have faith in to turn it around, we've got the right man for the job, haven't we?
Well, I feel like the karmic balance of the universe is completely out of whack now with you being all sort of happy clappy. So I like what you're saying, but I would qualify it by saying if there's anyone that can do it, it's us. And us needs to be actually us, as opposed to whatever changeling fairy version of us that has been turning up week to week in the last while, because that side ain't going to get the job done. And that's where my worry lies. But I do like where you're going with that, and I like that you've brought it around, and there's something for everybody there in the show. You can wallow in the misery, or you can be up on the high horse there with positivity as well, or somewhere in the middle, which is, I think, realistically where all three of us are. Like I was saying, Cam, there is an FA Cup game tomorrow, and the reason I bring it up is that there's a possibility that we might see our new signing, who we haven't really spoken about, get a run out. And that, I guess, is exciting in and of itself. He plays nominally where Luis Diaz plays for us, and we're missing our wonderful attacker for another while yet. So it would be nice to see him come in and have an immediate impact that you would imagine would have a healthy sort of influence on the team, because we've been watching Darwin, who's still got an okay conversion rate in terms of goals and appearances and all that kind of stuff, but we've seen him struggle with opportunities. We've seen him being very unlucky, and we've also seen him miss sitters. And we've also had the whole conversation, well, at least he's getting into the positions. But the whole Darwin thing will work itself out when it works itself out. There's nothing we can do about that. We've seen over the years that type of thing happen with strikers trying to settle into clubs. Mo Salah, regardless of what anybody wants to say, is a shadow of himself. And that's an issue, and nobody wants to talk about it. And the simple answer to that is Pep Linders is making him play on the wing. And look, you know what?
Of course.
Do you know what? Maybe that is a tactical thing that he's insisted on, and maybe that is a problem. Maybe there's a knock-on effect. But again, the simplistic nature of that is just, I can't cope with it. But we do have an opportunity to see a new lad come in and maybe pull up a few trees. And as we said, listening to people and talking, I was speaking to a Dutch football expert, and we really seem to have got this kid at the right time. He's really on an upward curve. His productivity's gone through the roof. His influence in matches has gone through the roof. He was the star man just as we pluck him away. He's had a fantastic World Cup. So, I mean, that's exciting, and you'd have to be a little bit dead inside not to be looking forward to seeing that. And I was kind of indifferent as to whether I might even get on with some family bits tomorrow and skip this FA Cup game, but if Gakpo's playing, I want to see this guy. Look, Cam, I've never missed a Reds game voluntarily. It's just where my mind is at the moment. I'm like, this is a little bit hard on the system at the moment, but if he's playing, I want to see him, and I really hope he starts.
Yeah, you and me both. I'm a big fan of the FA Cup, as you know. I want us to win it again this year. I said that on the Nina Kauser show the other day. I believe as a club we're about winning trophies. The FA Cup is a big trophy for me still. I want us to win it. I was so happy we won it last year. And I'm really looking forward to the game tomorrow night. And I wish I was there. I genuinely do. Shame I'm working. Well, I will work tomorrow. I won't be on a go slow manager, if you're listening. Not that he will be. Well, you never know. Strange things. I can't wait. If he's playing it, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's about, because who knew we were signing him, eh? Where did that one come from? So it was just fantastic to get somebody in. It's always a lift for the club, usually, and hopefully when he's on the pitch, and I'd love to see him start up with Darwin. Want to see them two start to try and develop a relationship on the pitch as quickly as possible, because it can only help us in the league going forwards, because this kid's going to be playing an awful lot. He's going to be thrown in at the deep end now, because obviously the Diaz injury, as we know, is going to keep him out till the end of March, April time, something like that. But I know Jota's back in training, isn't he? I think there has been little rumours that, or there has been some stuff where he has been at the training ground anyway. So whether he's been training with the first team or not, or hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later as well. And that would just give us a bit more strength and depth at top, and we can start rotating those players up in and out, because last thing we want to do is create any more crisis up there. But tomorrow's going to be a fantastic game. You know, Wolves, they will fight. They're a tough team to play. I know they're not doing too great in the Premier League at the moment, as in they're down in the relegation zone, but you know they're going to give it a lot of fight. And I believe there's a potential transfer target in that team that we might be looking at as well, who might be playing.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Something to look forward to, isn't it? There's something for everybody in that game tomorrow. Something for everyone, definitely.
It is when you think about it that way, Lisa Marie. It is actually it does give the whole occasion a little bit of an extra something or other to see Gakpo. I wonder, from what I've seen of him, the limited bit I've seen of him, I wonder if him and Darwin will be getting each other's way a little bit. They both like the same area of the park, that's for sure. But he does seem to be more of a winger type. And if Darwin's doing his central role, as Cam says, it might be very interesting. And that's exciting in and of itself. You can comment on Gakpo if you like. But the idea of getting to have a look at this Nunes story that's popped back up, Matheus Nunes, it's very interesting. And of course, again, toys are flying out of prams left, right, and centre. Like, why didn't we do it when we had the opportunity, and so on and so forth. It's probably Pep Linder's fault. Who knows? But you know, it, as Cam says, that does add a little extra to it. I don't know if it's going to be possible to poach him away now, or if that's just paper guff or whatever, but it adds something to it. Who else are you looking forward to maybe getting to see? Do you think we might see a start for someone like Doak, or what type of... I think Klopp said in the presser he's going to go as strong and experienced as he can, but he would say that.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to maybe see Doak. Of course, I always like to see my son, Harvey Elliott, fourth child, playing.
Playing where? Playing where?
Well, that's a good question, because it might not be a bad thing to see him in the front line. I guess it depends on how we set up too, but it might not be, have him play on that right wing. I don't know. Yeah, and I kind of am hoping that maybe we see Calvin Ramsey at the right back position. I'd like to see a little bit more of him, because the little bits that we saw of him, I guess, was it back before the World Cup? There's something there. But I think, and I don't know if because I know some other injury or something where he was out of training for a little bit. So I don't know if he's back in training or not. I may be completely speaking out of school here. So yeah, I mean, I think it is, Klopp said he was going to go strong. I do want to see some players get rested. Like I don't think I want Fabinho starting. I'd like to see more of, and I'm probably going to say it wrong. Is it Bacetic? In midfield, I think, seeing him either in the 6 role for Fab or, somewhere in the midfield would be good. Cause again, he's young. He doesn't need to be playing all the time, but we need to be developing him and playing him, in some, as a squad player. And I think these are the types of situations where that makes sense. So.
I'm very similar. I'm hoping we see some of these kids who've shown promise get their chance. Bit like Cam, I'm a traditionalist. That competition was massive when I was a kid, and so I retained some fondness for it. And I think if we were perhaps looking at a little bit better, or I don't know, I think I might be a little bit more gung-ho about it, or sort of like dismissive of it, rather. Sorry. But, it's an opportunity for some of our guys to get a game and do well and maybe make a name for themselves. So anything like that occurs, and I heard Dave talking earlier on, FA Cup third round day is the crack. And so if we're the last game, you can have had a nice day watching a bit of footy and tuck into hopefully some of the baby Reds, maybe the new boy, couple of old heads, see what they can do against Wolves. And it won't be easy because, as Cam said earlier on, these are a decent side. I'm looking at the clock and we've gone over the hour and we should start wrapping it up. And I'm wondering what you think about a way to finish. And I think the simplest way to do it is for us to, having been at home with the families and stuff like that over the last while, even if it was for shorter periods than we'd have liked in Cam's case and in your case as well, Lisa Marie, I'm sure we have at least one TV recommendation out of that for our listeners to get them a suggestion of something to go off and watch that you have been getting stuck into lately. So I'll start. I have been watching all the back series of Archer on Netflix, and it's bloody tremendous. And it was a monumental revelation to me in a way that stunned me into silence at my own stupidity when we get to season 4 or 5, something like that, and the central character who's Archer pops up with a moustache as Bob from Bob's Burgers. And then I went, holy shit, it's the same actor who does the voices for both. And for some reason, which is absolutely mad to me, I had not put that together. I'm a massive fan of both of those shows. So if you'd like a little bit of light-hearted entertainment with a bit of a cynical edge, go to Archer. And if you want some sort of light-hearted entertainment with slightly cynical but a really sweet edge, I'd say go to Bob's Burgers. I was watching a bit of both with myself and my kid over the Christmas break. Cam, what about you, man? Any suggestions for a little bit of viewing rec? And I know you've got 2 quotes as well at the end. I'm not forgetting that.
Yeah, cool. I'll give you the couple of recommendations. First one is Acapulco. A little bit of a comedy rom-com, you could say. So,
okay. I've never heard of it. It's a movie.
And it's very
right?
bright because it's Acapulco, obviously. So,
okay.
It's it is really good. I if you're into that sort of soppy stuff, you'll enjoy it. So I must admit I did enjoy that. And the other one I've just started watching. I've just finished the first season. Is I know it's an old one. The series started in 2015. Is The Man in the High Castle.
Oh, I've heard that's great.
Yeah, it's superb. I've literally finished the first season, which is 10 episodes, about 50 minutes per episode in about 2.5 days, 3 days.
So this is like what if the Nazis had won? That's the setup, right?
Yeah.
It's
really difficult to get your head around it. It is really odd, but it's fascinating.
Excellent. Excellent. Love the sound of that. Now, before we move away from you and to get your last contribution, I know you had a couple of quotes. I didn't ask you at the start. Yeah. So let's throw them out there now.
The quotes, okay. The first quote, it's the same person for both quotes. I knew that was going to be the last chance to play in the Champions League final. I was desperate to win. I put a lot of pressure on myself. Finally, I got hold of that cup. It was a defining moment of my career. I got really emotional and nearly fainted on the pitch. And then just to finish off, I'm a man who is on a journey, and cancer has joined me on that journey. My goal is to keep walking, keep moving, until he's had enough and leaves me alone. And that's in memory of Gianluca Vialli, who unfortunately passed away today after battling pancreatic cancer since 2017. And he was, I think you could sum him up as a player who came to the Premier League in 1996. And I think that's when the Premier League sort of came to life, when the likes of himself and Zola and all the other big stars started coming to the Premier League. And, it's just a sad day for the world of football. Obviously, we lost Pele a few days ago as well, who was undoubtedly the greatest player ever with his 3 World Cups. To go to a World Cup at the age of 17 and do what he did in Sweden in 1958 it was. And then that reminds me, watch the Pele documentary on Netflix. Brilliant. Really, really good. So, yeah, there you go.
Excellent. I'm glad you brought in a mention of Gianluca Vialli. Seemed always as well, apart from being a wonderful talent, to be a really good lad. And that has a big lasting impact on you when you're a youngster watching the game, which I would have been, comparatively speaking, when he was doing his thing with Sampdoria and Italy. And then came over to the Premier League, like you said, an absolute one of those guys. Chelsea really had, to be fair, in that era a lot, like Zola, also Hullet coming over and doing his thing there. Those guys, like, it just made the league feel a lot more cosmopolitan, and it's exciting. And they had a huge impact, I think, on the Premier League and the establishment of it and what it turned into. So, absolutely RIP to Gianluca Vialli, an incredible talent, and like I said, seemed like a very decent man as well. 58 is no age, so it's an awful loss. And Lisa Marie, will circle back to you for a final recommendation for something to maybe distract people from the LFC online commentary.
I really didn't watch a whole lot of TV over the holidays. I did more reading.
Pies, weren't you?
Well, yes, that's true. I was very busy baking 9,000 cookies and chocolate chess pie and other delights. Fudge. I made some fabulous fudge. But no, I mean, I did some reading, and it's nothing I was going to recommend. It was I don't want to say trash reading, but it's just turn your brain off, not have to think reading, just stuff like that. But what I did watch, y'all are going to just laugh at me. I did watch the Call the Midwife Christmas special.
So did I.
And it makes me cry every single frickin' year.
I think that's the point, Lisa Marie. I think that's
I know. Every year. So yeah, I did see that. And okay, I am so behind. I can't believe I haven't watched this movie. But so kids 1 and 2, the 2 boys were working on New Year's Eve. So it was just Sean and my daughter and I at home. And so we were like, well, let's, after we had a very nice meal. And then, I said, well, let's watch a movie. Let's, something. And I can't believe we hadn't seen this, but we had not seen The Greatest Showman. So we watched that. Mary Kristen had seen it, but I hadn't seen it. And Trev, you'll hate it because it's a musical. But it was really good. I mean, and I hear it's one of those movies that people either really like or they really don't like. I fell in the hard like column because I really enjoyed it. So
Did you enjoy it, or did you just enjoy watching Hugh Jackman?
No, it wasn't even that.
Okay.
I enjoyed how just the story and what they did with it, and it was just different. And I enjoyed the music and and the whole bit. I mean, it's loosely based on P.T. Barnum, and you can't. It loosely based would be the key part of that sentence. It's not it's not a documentary. It's not a biography. It's just taking his story and his life and pulling bits and pieces of it to create this story. So, but no, I enjoyed it. So yeah, I actually will be joining Guy on the post-match, medium rare tomorrow after the Cup game.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Do you know?
Yeah, he was looking for volunteers, and no one raised their hand for a while, so I raised mine. So yeah, so I'll be doing that.
Who's making up the panel with the two of you guys?
Andy Wells.
Ah, fantastic. Well, I look forward to listening to you guys pulling that one apart, and myself and Cam will know that I enjoy watching the match.
And I will be, before that, my Christmas tree is still up, so I will be taking down the Christmas tree tomorrow morning.
Good Lord, woman, get on that, will you?
Hey, look, it's a whole, you saw all the boxes that come out. It's not just the tree in this house. I deck the halls, and it's a day-long project to put all that crap away. So.
Well, to be fair, over here, the 6th of December, which this still is, is 6th of January is referred to as Ihe Nullag na Man, which is Christmas, women's Christmas, basically. And of course, in old patriarchal Ireland, it was a rare night off for the ladies. Traditionally, that's what it was. So
it's also Epiphany, and
the idea, though, of you having to take down your tree on the end of
Well, it won't just be me. I will be getting the minions to assist.
Yes, I thought you did. Good stuff.
Why else do I have them? Yes.
So I want you to repeat after me, Lisa Marie, and then you can Brainch. Here we go, right? So we're going to just do a little phrase.
Okay.
We're just going to say good night. Okay, we're going to say good night to everybody, all our listeners, and we're going to take it in turn. So the Irish for good night is Ihe wa. Ihe wa. So, Lisa Marie?
Ihe wa.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Cam Brainch, let's hear you.
Ihe wa.
Oh, tremendous. It's like I've got a couple of native speakers. We will line up a few more phrases and see how they get on next week. But for now, we'll wrap it up. I've been Trev Downey. You heard Lisa Marie Hanahan and you heard Cam Brainch. This was the Anfield Index Podcast, and we'll be back with you next week.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.